Common set
metaphors that
of
get thrown
metaphors.
around a decent amount. Something along the lines of, we as people, we're authors of our own book, and we're the star of our own movie. You heard these things before?
Twist.
And they, when you hear them, when I just said them, and even the way I said them, they
Well, the
seem
beauty
kinda
on that
trite.
is I'm
They
still...
seem cliched, and I guess they
You can
are,
be ugly
but
and dumb, bro.
like many
No,
cliches,
those
they
those
are
things don't matter. You're still a
true
great
in many
operator for
ways.
the general. General, your name is not on the
And
list.
there's
It's the book.
an analogy in those statements with the idea of extreme ownership.
Extreme, because I'm about to get there. Like, I'm going to take a bar napkin
Take
on
ownership
a,
of your life. That's
on a bid for a
similar
landscaper's
to, hey,
quote, turn it
you write
into
your own book.
SCP-033 of the missing math problem, and
You get to
open
create
it
the
up and
plot.
turn
is
it
the-
into a
is the
manifold
underlying theme,
geodesic
which means that you
book
have
of the day
control.
vibes.
And obviously, I like that idea. I like that attitude. And I agree with the idea of creating your own plot and writing your own book that
But
you're
I'm
in.
absolutely for the 7 principles of training.
But it
Just put it in a
doesn't
book.
quite correlate 100%, because here's the thing.
You get there, and
If
it's
you are truly
probably a
writing your
lot
own
more
script,
macro.
then you
You
actually
might
have
need
control
a
over
Dakota
everything
There, I don't know.
that's happening. You have 100% control over everything that you're writing. You're writing it. But in life, in real life, there are things that are beyond your control.
Yeah, it's hard to
In
the Dakota
war,
Hole
the
jump
enemy gets a vote.
there, tie that in a crypto
In
for into the
life-
breach once more, brother. And if they get it,
Life gets a vote.
you give them applause.
Life gets a vote. Bad things are going to happen, things that you don't expect.
Right.
Disease, accidents, misfortunes, mishaps, catastrophes.
Expect
And it doesn't
landmines,
matter.
unless you
It doesn't
expect
matter who
landmines.
you are or what situation you are in. These things are going to impact your
You
life
would-
at some point.
It's Earth
No one
everywhere,
gets out of
and
life
then
without
there's
these things
Bagram,
happening.
right? I guess that would be the term.
No one truly gets to write their own script.
Winter in Russia. How about winter in spring? Or
So
Russia
the
in
question
spring?
is, what do you do with these things when they hit you? How do you face these challenges? How do you actually take ownership of your life? It is not an easy thing to do.
You have to have field theory. It's a trick
But
question
we
because
are
there's
lucky
only
enough
one
today
answer. It's EV
to have
vehicle
someone
out
here
that book.
that
I can compare
has
books. We
taken
can say books. We
ownership
can make
of his life
differentials. We can adjust. We can
and has
do things.
dedicated his life to service.
Read a new one.
He served in
Tomorrow's
SEAL
another day.
teams. Once he got out of the SEAL teams, created an incredibly successful business. He serves his family, serves his wife and his 2 daughters. He serves his faith,
Saw you surfing right now.
and now he is looking to serve his country again as a political leader.
It's quick.
His
It's
name is
dirty.
Eli
It takes
Crane,
90 days when I'm
and
done
he
with you.
is here tonight
You'll have
to
it.
share his
And
experiences
I will never want to see you ever
and
get in
pass
office.
on some
Ever.
of those lessons learned that he got along the way. Eli Crane,
Then you get
thanks for
good.
coming down, man.
You
Thanks
start
for
to know the
having me,
number,
Jocko.
you get
Appreciate
appreciated.
Long drive out from Arizona.
I know, about 5.5 hours, but it was a good one though.
Let's jump into this. So, speaking of Arizona, let's start at the beginning. Let's start
Oh,
about your
Arizona.
past and where you came from.
Yeah, I
I hit
actually
the governor's desk.
was
I keep
born
catching
in
'em.
Tucson, Arizona. My dad was going to pharmacy school.
They're not
out there.
running it like a machine gun with people
Both
they're
my
putting
parents are
through in
from Iowa,
conversational
and
briefs
they
like
moved
this.
out
Oh,
here,
I'll take packets and units.
Go to a good pharmacy school, and there were a lot of pharmacy jobs
Drop
in the
pandas,
West. So my dad
internal
went
lattice
through pharmacy
confinement,
school, then moved us
structure
down to
sensors,
Yuma,
The saw
Arizona, of all
and that
places.
list
Dang.
is the
Yeah.
book.
And so
Was there a job or something down there?
there was, and that's
Okay.
why he did it. And it's cool because I remember a lot of my
You don't
buddies
realize
in
you're
the
getting
platoon were
into
always
it
complaining
until
about,
a
you know,
couple
Iraq,
42
and
will fuck
they-
with
and I
you
was like,
good, man.
This is like where I'm from, man. You know, except Arabic street signs and maybe an extra dust storm here or there. This is like kind of like Yuma without the good.
See, it'll
Mexican
happen to
food, but-
anybody, and you
But
can't,
yeah, so
you can't
grew up
forget
in
that
grew up in
because
Yuma,
you come down
and
to it.
you know, just you know, loved
That
playing
doesn't
sports.
mean
Was a football
the
player.
bracelets,
Played a little bit of basketball and stuff like that. Wanted to be a pro football player, but then I realized, you know, I ran into reality and realized that I didn't have the skills, and started looking at other options.
26 billion
So
for
your dad was
Stemmer.
actually completed pharmacy
Just
school
give
and he's a
it to me
pharmacist?
because I saw
Yes, sir.
10
And what about your
problems.
mom?
You know,
Was she doing the same thing, or did she
No.
start raising the
Take 10
kids? Or
million.
Yeah, she
You
was
start a box,
raising
didn't
the
figure it
kids, and
out.
she was also
and then
she also
some
did
middle
some
ground
part-time
people
work at our
with
church
equity
as
would
a
have it,
secretary,
and
so,
you put it to them too.
So
Oh,
you
yeah,
were spending time in church then when you were younger?
yeah, I did.
Well, they said
How
one
was,
dumb, like
how
pull
was
the
the attention span
CDL
in school
from
and whatnot?
the Canadian truckers.
It was
Like,
good
great,
student.
do
No,
it.
I was a
Don't need
horrible
it no more.
student.
Happy to do
It
it
was
in
funny,
house.
I remember,
Tell them to just drive
you know,
on the road. Yeah,
Thank
arrest
God,
every
Jocko,
trucker
you
on
talk
the road.
about,
Good
dynamic
luck.
leadership. Sometimes they're like, hey, what works for this individual doesn't work
But
for
yeah,
that
they catch
individual.
90K.
But,
the lieutenant with the retirement. Oh man,
It was
she's-
interesting because
she's-
I remember my
McDonald's
mom, thank God
workers
she,
and Subways make
tried
it
to be
15,
dynamic
and
in
some
parenting
jobs
me
where
and my
it's like
brothers, 'cause
it
my
doesn't
older
matter
brother-
who it
my older
is,
brother and
Master
younger brother
Mason.
were
It doesn't
good
matter what you've
students.
done in this
But
world.
me, on the other hand, not so
fucked up
much.
something
You're the
royal
middle, right?
because
I was the
they're
middle,
gonna
and they were.
push
I
right
remember
into
my
it.
mom coming home from a parent-teacher conference, and she was like, Eli's in the classroom,
Well,
but he's not really
the
here.
thing about like America and
I was
Canada
always
and some of the other ones are
I was out at recess,
Good
chasing
49.
butterflies, whatever I was doing. But yeah, it didn't, and it was interesting
and so they get
because
smart.
as I
They'll
went
be like
down
me.
that
They smoke
pipeline,
cigarettes. They
you
might
know,
do pot,
I
and there's
started
the
thinking, people
demographic
would
of
tell
it,
me,
and they
like,
kick
especially
like
my brothers,
mules,
you know,
man.
you always
You can't
rash
do
your
nothing
brothers,
with
give each
them.
other a
They're
hard
smart.
time.
They hide in the
My brothers,
bandwidth
you know,
of what
I
usually operation
probably
does. Stay
dished out more than
motivated. Don't get in
I
trouble. But
received,
the
but,
second they slip, it's the kind of thing
you
that
know, they would tell me that I was
cripples. You're
stupid
just
because my grades were awful. And so you
And then
hear
they all
you
go
hear
too,
something
because
enough
that's a
time,
big
you're
one right
stupid,
now.
you're stupid, you're stupid. You start to internalize it, and you know you can easily make that a part of your identity. So I did, and you know I started to think I was stupid. And then as
I
I
did,
got
actually.
further along in life, and I started finding what I was passionate about, I realized that I wasn't stupid. I just, needed to have that energy and my
Without
attention
something to
funneled in the
compare
right
against,
direction towards
everything is
something that I really
impossible.
cared about.
as soon as you run your first run,
So
you'll
you
forget to
played
do the paperwork on it unless you're
Football?
real
Did you say
smart,
football
right?
and what?
And you're real
I
smart, and you
played
still forget
football,
to
a
do
little bit of
right
basketball,
now. Bottom of
but
the team crown
ma-
again.
most of my
I
focus
did
was
something
football.
different. It was
And you
different
played
from
all through high school?
yesterday.
Yeah.
How
No,
good
no,
were
no,
you?
fundamentally, the whole
I was
thing over again
decent,
takes a amount of time.
but I wasn't good enough to move on to college.
It was the only
I
thing.
played,
Regrind the
played
table,
quarterback.
start at
I
0,
loved,
push it with the boss like
playing
that, push his
quarterback.
belly
I
button, then
loved
turn
the
his inning,
team
do an outie for a change.
dynamics of football, but it was interesting, and I got to take extreme ownership of this, but my
where
coach,
was I going?
we had like 3 slow white
I think
quarterbacks.
they forget
and
when
in high school,
you do
our
some of
coaches
that model,
decided
you
to
mess up
switch
the
us to an
timeline on
option,
keeping poor for a
running
reason of
football team.
compression
So
or training
it's kind of like,
or
you know,
what it
none
is.
of us were even
You have to have
really in a
limits,
system that,
capstone.
really highlighted our
You
skills.
can't forget
our
about your
preferred
crew like
skill
that. That
sets or
means
what we
hire
were
an
even
extra
good at, but,
manager that brings that in that can handle
there
that.
was
Otherwise, your
one
phase
guy
operator's not right.
that
And
ended up
if you do
starting
it
over me,
right, it'll be
and,
bricks, right,
unfortunately,
out
he
the
was
9. And
juicing
then you're real
at the
risky
time.
out at 9.
And I was
whatever
like a
metrics you're
scrawny,
running.
like 100,
Wasn't unfortunate for him, apparently.
right. He was like, I was 6'1", like 170 pounds, just really, really scrawny. Hadn't put on any
10-3
weight
for an
yet.
inflation
and,
number
he
makes
had-
sense
he could
why
throw
it's
about
good
15
or
yards
bad
further
or
than
good
me,
for
and
you but
he
bad
got-
for
he
somebody
started,
else. There's
so
all different
it is
parties
what it
going
is.
on, and they
Didn't
all
get-
do something
didn't-
different, but they'll all
didn't
bend
get
the
the
knee.
opportunity to really
Every
start
one
once
of
I got
them, as soon as
deeper.
that
I started
oblique
all the way
pops
up
out,
to like my
they
junior
can't
year, and
handle.
then I got benched. And the bottom line is, I wasn't good enough to make it happen.
Sometime.
And I'm
Okay, you didn't
looking
have your
back on it,
computer
hindsight
version.
being
I
what
have
it
a
is, I'm kinda
sandbox
glad
right here
because
at
I'm pretty-
Archimedes. Let's
pretty thrilled
dance.
about the route that I ended up going down.
And then you stayed in Yuma. Is that where you went to high school?
Yeah, that's where I went to high school, Cibola High School.
And your parents were just continuing to work
See,
and
because they missed
Yep.
me at
get you
18,
ready
it's a
for
big bit of it.
life.
Yep, pretty much just raising me and my 2 brothers, and
The closest
yeah,
you get is
I mean,
bosses that like you, don't like
I
you, not in
feel
on
pretty
it, in
fortunate
on
to
it,
grow
and
up
there's
in the
no
home that I
sharps guy
did.
there to help you
My
with
parents loved
any
us; they
fraud
provided for us,
cases, any.
etc. And
Well,
you
we
know,
really
I
do
realize
anyways
a
when
lot
the
of-
boys are being
lot
the
of folks
boys,
don't
telling
get
some
that,
dirty
so
Mexican
pretty
joke
grateful
down
for
there.
that.
You're supposed to cry to the
And
harassment
then were you
officer.
planning
No.
to go to college?
Well, that's what starts to get
Was that
frisky
part
with,
of your plan?
with Lon down
yeah,
there.
I was planning to go to college, but I was hoping that I could go there and play football. Like that was my focus, that was my goal, and then I also wanted to be in the military at some point. And so
If you
the
could bring
advice
in
that I
one
was
at a
getting
time
was,
instead
hey
of the
Eli, if you're
airport,
gonna
it's
go
easy.
to college,
This is done.
you know,
Done.
or if you're gonna go into the
Give you a
military,
degree,
go
you come
through,
out of Warpack,
go through school,
that
get your degree,
roster right
become an
there.
officer,
Getting
you know,
rich.
and you'll get a lead man, the pay is better, etc. And
We won't give you a dime. I won't.
that wasn't
Again, you can't just
the
cut you out of
path I ended up
contract every
taking,
pay
but,
for nothing. Because what we
Did
turn,
you,
I'd
did
expect
you
the
get
military
better
to be
grades
much
as you
better.
got older, or
But-
I did.
Did your brothers scar you to the point
try.
where you were just not doing any schoolwork at all?
No, so when I got out of high school, I started working some like odd jobs, like construction.
You're
You know,
doing
at one
good.
point I was
Go,
like a
man, I catch you.
scorekeeper down at Parks and Rec, you know, for like softball games and stuff like that. I was working at a restaurant as like a busboy. You know, definitely not on the path to
This
success.
is when you got out of high school.
Yeah, when I
So
got
when
out
you
of high school.
So
Did you
you
didn't
gotta
go right into
you
college?
gotta
I
go
did.
way
Okay.
back in
And then,
eschatology to really get
and
back
then
to the
I was
roots
I was
of
kind of lost, and
Africa.
it was right after my parents' divorce.
Before
And my
Pangea
parents'
broke
divorce
up.
was pretty tough, and so it kind of rocked my world. I was definitely
The evolution
a little bit
does a
rattled.
thing.
So I was trying to figure
I
How old
out.
were
watched
you when your
what
parents
was it,
got
David
divorced?
I was
Chappelle
17.
a little while ago. He was
So,
telling this joke about a
you know,
terrorist on a
thankfully,
plane.
like I said, I got
Two
my
black
parents together
You got
for
it, you
most
got
of my
But
upbringing.
there would
It was-
obviously
it was
be
a pretty brutal divorce,
something
and so it just
happened.
really rocked my world. And I was, took some time trying to figure out who the hell I was.
Slow
what I was
motion
gonna
happens.
do.
Where
And,
two
and then
black
I
guys
started-
get going, one white
I-
guy joins the
I started
party,
going back to
and then they're kind of
community
thinking like,
college called
"Man,
Arizona
play the
Western."
David Chappelle model out,
And I
man."
started studying
And
criminology.
so I
and
call in
that's when I
another
started
white
getting
guy.
good
They look at
grades
both
because
of
I-
each other
I
like, "You
loved it.
can't do that." Well,
I
we're here
loved it.
now.
And,
Bust
you know,
out a game of chess.
I
Who's
wasn't
gonna
getting
take
straight A's,
lead?
but I
Fucking
think
bad
I
guy
had
comes
like a
in, scrambles up the
3.5
door. We all
average or
look
something
at him.
like that,
Fucking
and,
out. Now you catch him.
I enjoyed it.
And how long did that last for?
So I did that for about 2
You touch
years.
chessboard. You
I,
catch him.
I think I was one credit away, like an elective away from getting my my associate's degree, and then I applied to go to the University of Arizona. Unfortunately, when I got to the University of Arizona, they didn't have like a criminology degree. They had like some criminal justice degree, but I'd have to go to the Eller Business School, and I didn't get into that one. You had to have really good grades to get into it, and so I ended up being like, okay, I still want to finish my degree, still want to have the opportunity to become an officer if possible, and so I was like, okay, being the typical, I was like, okay,
I really think to do it. I
what
just
path
caught
can I
one
go
there.
that
It's like,
allows
you
me
you
to
stay
do
in the
that?
boot
And so
for
I
a while, they grind
looked
you
at
in. You
sociology,
gotta have
the
something
study of
to
society
compare against. I gotta
and
send you out.
culture.
Yeah, there
And
it
I
is.
started,
But there's still the
working on my
training
major,
of it
and
to
I
having
switched my major at that point because they didn't have the
lead.
criminology.
It's like get out,
major.
do it, come
Were you
back.
thinking
But they don't
about
have a
the
roster
SEAL
for it.
teams, or
There's
were you
a
just
lot
thinking
to
about
do
the
it.
military
And
in general?
again,
Did
you
you
can't
know?
just keep it all
Yeah,
secret
so
either.
at that
It's like,
point I
give
knew
it-
I wanted
it's more
to
of
be
a
a SEAL.
trial thing. You try and make
even when
it
I
or
was
don't.
back in
3
Yuma before I
MCATs,
came
you're
to
done.
Tucson, I was never a big partier or anything like that. And I remember when I was doing the odd jobs, one of my favorite things to do at night was to go to Barnes and Noble and just like, really go through the military history section
What
that
you
they
can
have
do
there,
with it.
and
You
I
do
would
a
just
lot with
read
that.
books on special forces, PJs, Rangers, Delta, and I was just fascinated by the special forces community. And I remember my dad gave me a piece of advice in high school. He said, Eli, the trick to being happy in your career is basically to pick something you would do for free.
The xylophone.
Don't pick a career because of
Yeah.
money. It won't make you happy. And he told me if I could go back and do it again, I wouldn't be a pharmacist.
See-
He said I could have gone and been a forest ranger or something like that. I would do that. And so I took that advice on board.
Forest
and I was
Ranger's
like,
a good
oh,
one.
Man, I was reading the
Like
books. and I was like,
farmer, or
jumping out
it's
of
like
airplanes, blowing
as a
stuff
bluestone
up,
mason, some days I have
shooting,
real big morals
being
about it.
with,
But logging
being in
and
a team
lumber mills,
environment, dude, I'd
totally
do that
different
for
animal.
free
That's
for
like
sure.
perfect
And
sense.
So I started setting my mind on special forces.
Is there something that particularly narrowed it down to the SEAL teams?
You would look
Yeah,
at the
because
Wisconsin
all the
log teams
literature
like
that
they
I
would be
was
SEALs.
Almost
You
all
would
of it
look at
said
they're the
that it
cutters,
was the
they're
toughest
the
training in the
riggers,
Department of
they're
Defense.
the war
And
force out front.
I don't
Most
know,
of
there
them
was
are
something
going to
about
be
that that
jacked,
just
and then there's a
appealed to me, like, I
civilian
wanted to
limit of
test myself
because
and see if
those
I could,
operations, no matter whether
if I
it's in
had what it took
Wisconsin,
to make it
Ohio,
through the toughest training in the
Toronto,
world. And then
they would still be the same
I loved
force.
the water
Engling
more I
angle
thought I
changes a
did.
bunch.
That notion gets tested.
Yeah.
That notion gets tested big time. How old were you when you were figuring all
I
that
gotta go.
out? Was that when you were already at the University of
I'm
Arizona?
still figuring it out.